Hey everybody, it's Rich and Tawny. We wanted to do a little video for you folks because we can't have you come in our house because of the virus situation and trying to keep our distancing and conforming to that rule. So we just want to give you this information. It'll be helpful for you to have your puppy, and if you have any questions about anything, you can text us or email us, and we can get that information back to you right away.
Mm-hmm.
So
We call this the spiel. I'm going to start with pack order and make some suggestions to you that will really help the puppy get an idea of who he or she is within your family. If you have children especially, this is very important. For instance, the dog should always be lower than the kids physically and in every other way. So at first you're not going to let the dog up on the couch. The puppy, yeah. Taking walks will be really important to take the dog out on a harness and leash, which we will be sending with you. Walks do something to their psyche. It helps them to understand who you are, that you are the pack leader. And it's important for you to walk the dog, not the dog walking you. So that means that like the alpha dog will tend to run ahead and stop, and then the whole pack runs up and they stop. So that would be you ahead and the dog next to you or slightly behind, and the puppy decides they have to go potty, pull them a few more steps and then stop. Don't make the dog be the leader, if that makes sense. The idea is for the dog to be following or next to you when you're walking. At first, the puppy is not going to walk straight. They tend to go right between your legs. They haven't been on a leash yet, so actually having them at the side at first probably isn't realistic, but that is the goal, is to have them on at your side. We've sent you YouTubes showing you how to do a walk, and that's the goal. For pack, the food is the second thing. It's a good idea to have the kids serving the dog the food. So the puppy needs to sit, and the idea would be to have the puppy stay, and maybe dad or mom would need to hold the puppy so that the puppy stays, and then the child pours the food, and then they say okay, and then the dog's released to go have their food. So that puts the child above the puppy, which is super important because that's the first thing they want to know. They want to know if the small one is at the same level, or maybe the puppy might think he's ahead of the child. So height is extremely important, so the child is always taller. Jumping, no jumping from the dog. The goal is for the puppy to come to you and sit. And they already know that when I'm standing, and you'll see, you probably will have seen the video already, I'm standing and the puppies sit in front of me for attention. So I pet the ones who are sitting. I give treats to the ones who are sitting. And you know that they have figured it all out when you're cooking dinner and there's a puppy behind you sitting and looking up at you, looking for another treat. So those are really important things to do with the puppy for the kids. Also, when the puppy takes a nap, which usually happens a couple times a day, in the morning, mid-morning, and late afternoon, when the dog is about ready to fall asleep, just put them in the crate and throw a treat in, and they'll go to sleep, and they can be right in the middle of the hub of the home. And when it's time to get up, have one of your kids be the one to let the puppy out and say, okay, so the puppy comes out. And then that goes to potty training. Okay, so, but I think I'm going to finish up with the pillars of pack order, which is what the book is about. I don't want to get off track with potty training because I can go into that later. So walks, food, height, no jumping. Tethering is another really important thing that the book goes into. We really love the idea, and we use this tethering the dog to ourselves. So for 2 weeks, the dog is either tethered to you, is tethered to maybe the table next to you while you're on the computer or you're watching a movie, or the dog is in the crate. That would be another place. It's nap time, so the dog is in the crate. So they're always under control. The advantage of having tethering is, for instance, potty training. When you're on the computer and you're working and the puppy's maybe has a little pad next to you and some toys to play with, And all of a sudden the puppy will go from laying down and being kind of relaxed to getting up and sniffing around. Well, that's pre-potty language. So just assume it is. Say potty, get up, take them with their leash and go right out the door. The treats should be right by the door that you're always going to go through during potty training. You take the treats with you and you walk around and you say potty, potty, potty over and over again until the puppy goes. Then you click, or you can use a word like yes. That's their signal of completion that they have done the task. So at first, mid-flow, you can click or say yes, and that may interrupt them, but that's okay because they're just getting started. And you go right over, even though they're going potty, and give them their treat. Later, after they seem to get the idea of what potty means, you can click, showing them that they've achieved it, and they'll know they're going to get a treat as soon as they come to you, but they're watching you to make sure you've got your treat and you're waiting, and then they'll come over after you click and they've gone potty, they'll come over and you'll give them their treat. So the click marks the spot when they've actually achieved the goal. So that's why we love tethering. Also, it teaches them not to chew on furniture because he's right next to you. You can feel when they're pulling on you, and you know that they're getting into something. You're not going to make a mistake. The other times, you can also use a timer. I mean, obviously, you don't have to have the dog on you all the time, but that would be the best. When they're not sleeping in their crate, they should be tethered to you or what we call benched.
So now you're talking about potty training.
Oh yeah, I'm going off to, I always want to go off to potty training. I don't know. But these are really important for training. So tethering, place, they talk about that in the book, which is just like benching, only without the leash. And the crate can be used up to 3 hours at a time. That's a pretty long stint. Maybe a couple of hours is the usual nap for these puppies during this time. Purposeful play teaches them so much. If you're outside and you have what we call a drag line, so it's a long string or leash on the puppy, so you can throw the ball, and then you call them back, puppy, 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 and they get distracted. They decided they're going to go wandering off to the neighbor's house. Well, you can reel them in and click and treat, so they get the idea that when you're calling them that they have to come, and they know you've got them, so it goes a lot faster. So you have them sit, and then you throw the ball, you say, okay, so they've learned sit, they have to control themselves, they have to wait for your signal, then they go get the ball, they get lots of clapping, and everybody's, yay, so exciting, and then they get their treat. And so the drag line is great. It's also great for going to the beach, for you go down to the water.
Park or whatever.
Yeah, and that way you have control not only of the puppy, but also if you see another dog coming that you think is rather unsavory, you can just pull them right in, and that way they're safe. So benching, tethering, place, crate up to three hours, and so that's that. So I'm not to potty training yet. I'm going to socialization. So a lot of breeders say don't take your puppy out until they're all done with their shots. We say that this is too important of time. We say that it is this much learning with this much actual time on your part, because they learn so fast.
If you do it early enough.
Yeah, you have to start now. They know sit, and they've started meeting people, but that's up to you to get them out there to meet other people. Dogs, yes, they'll go to a little class and they'll meet more dogs, but the more important thing is people. So take them with you wherever you go, and if you're concerned about where you've been, you're walking on a sidewalk and you notice a lot of dogs are using that sidewalk, and so then just make sure you wash your puppy's feet before you bring them in so they don't lick them and get something. Don't let them drink out of mud puddles. When you go traveling, have them go potty in the parking lot. Use your potty with the treat, same as you normally would do. Don't go into the doggy areas where there's other waste, because that's where they can get sick. And so that's how we handle that. We take them to Starbucks outside, Home Depot,
Weimart.
Weimart's excellent.
Yeah.
They're like part of our staff practically.
Yeah. One thing about, of course, during this time and with what's going on, it's going to be hard to going out into public, but at least you can go out on the leash and those kinds of things. So you just have to be mindful of that during this time, because we're not advocating just put aside all of the mandates from what our government is saying and go do what we're telling you to do, you have to be mindful of that. You can use your neighborhood if you know there's some people that are safe, then that's up to you. But just be mindful of that.
Or you could put on your gloves and your mask and go to Bi-Mart. But whatever you think. So anyway, we love doing that because it really does help the dogs get more confident. The more they learn, the more confident they get, and the more competent to do what you want them to do.
And you saw them when you came for the puppy party. You saw that they had no inhibitions, and they're well socialized now. But to continue that process is a great thing.
Yeah, new experiences. So socialize now. Potty training, tethering, treats. That's what we just talked about pretty much. It's use the timer. If you can't have them tethered to you and you're going to go take a shower and it's not nap time, you can put them in an area that if they do make a mistake, then it's okay, and set the timer so that you limit your time away from the puppy so you can catch them before their next time to go out, like a half hour start and then an hour, depending on how well they do, and take them out that way.
Sometimes when you're, like, say, in the kitchen making dinner and you have a playpen that's set up to barricade that area off, that would be a time when the timer could be used.
Yeah, that's great. So the kids can really help them if you have children, and they can take them out every 15 minutes. The more times they get exposed to the word potty and they succeed, the more they'll remember. The most important times when you have to succeed are in the morning, because it's a guaranteed success story, because they will have to go when they wake up. Right now they're going to bed around 10, getting up about 6. So if you get there right at 6, open the crate and and you have the treats already by the door. Take the puppy outside. You can do it on the leash.
Pick them up because they'll piddle on the way out.
That's
true. You want to pick them up and take them out to the door, and then walk them out the door. That way you don't have the problem within the house. Same door, same location if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's just the consistency is so important.
Yeah, and so we probably wouldn't use the leash at first, just get them to go potty and get that idea. But after a while, you'll want to put them on the leash as you're putting them down, so that they learn to do it on leash too. Sometimes dogs get the idea that they only go potty when they're off the leash, and that makes it rather difficult. So that's potty training. As much as you can to get them outside. Look for their pre-potty language. Once you know the pre-potty language, you've got it made.
And typically pre-potty language is pacing or sniffing or coming to you and turning away, doing that, or dance or whatever, or maybe even a little whine or something like that. Then every dog's a little different, but that's a sign of, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'll tell them about the bell.
Oh yeah, some people like to put a bell that hangs on the doorknob down where they can hit it with their paw or their nose, and that's an indication that I need to go out. So a lot of people train their dogs to do that as well.
Yeah. So, and you can look that up. A lot of things that you can train the dog to do, clicker training. That's a good way to do it. Look up online how to teach the dog to the potty bell. And that's really nice because you can take the bell with you. So if you're going to a friend's house or you're going on vacation, you can hang it on a door and show it to them, and they know that's where they need to go to let you know. Because Labradoodles don't, rarely do you find a Labradoodle that will go to the door and bark. So it's really important to give them a tool. So the next is food. Right now they are eating 3 meals a day, and they'll continue to do that until they're about 6 months old, and then you can go to
twice a day.
Twice a day. Okay, yeah, and then at a year you can go to more of an adult dog food. The one caution we have is that these dogs are large puppy breed, and so you'll want to keep the amount of protein that's in the food at 27% or below. The From puppy food that you have that you'll be getting to take home, if you want to continue it, has the right percentages for a puppy of this age, and the protein isn't too high. If you get up into the 30%, they just grow too fast for their joints and it's dangerous for them. So keeping the protein level down. Also, if you're going to get a different kind of dog food, we say avoid the foods that have the legumes for protein toward the first five ingredients. Yeah, don't do it like after the first five or at the fifth. So like sweet potatoes, peas are a really common one. A lot of times companies are using more of the vegetable or legume type of protein, and what's happening is it's affecting hearts. And I can't remember the name of the chemical that is not allowed to absorb in the dog's system when you're feeding this kind of food. So the main protein source should be meat. So we do use Dog Food Advisor, but we always look on the ingredients to make sure that the legumes and the potatoes are after. That's for grain-free if you're using grain-free. So, which from is not. So 3 times a day feeding right now. Water, if you, before, like after 8 p.m., you probably don't want to have water or food for the dog just because you want them to make it through the night. So, okay, so then grooming is next. First grooming is at 12 weeks, and it's a puppy grooming, and it's kind of a socialization thing. They go and the groomer will take 20 minutes to do a quick grooming. They'll show them the hair dryer, they'll put them up on the table, they'll do a little trim, lots of little treats and kudos, and the puppy has a great experience. They know the smell of the person, so when you come back at 6 months to do a real grooming, a full grooming, they'll remember it as a positive experience. So that's what we recommend, is a 12-week grooming.
And the puppy coat is gone, so the adult coat comes in between 9 and 12 months.
So yeah, and so brush them once a week at least, minimum. And when they get to that 9-month time, be sure to brush them, because the baby coat will be coming out. That's probably the only time you might see shedding, would be between the 9 and 12th month. So non-shed means it sheds like human hair, goes into the brush. So brush their teeth, yes, if you don't have time for doggy tooth brushing. We recommend enzymatic chews. What's the name of the kind?
I don't know.
Oh, brother. Anyway, so enzymatic chews. I want to say it's CMT. That's not right. No. Anyway, so it's a rawhide chew that comes with enzymes on it that takes off the tartar off of their teeth, and the chewing action helps prevent it as well. So we recommend that you give it to them like after their last meal of the day, like after dinner, and you have your puppy benched next to your chair and you're watching a movie and you give them a little chew and they're quietly chewing on it. And then afterwards they go to bed, and the enzymes stay on their teeth and all night long. So it really does help prevent tartar and knocks off any tartar that's there. So that's
I don't know if it knocks it off, but I think it helps prevent tartar and helps keeps their teeth clean.
I think it does, because they're brushing. I think so. And so so that's teeth brushing. There's other good chews as well. We like bully sticks, and well, Kong isn't really one that doesn't much for the teeth, but it sure is fun. We like to fill it with peanut butter or cream cheese and then put it in the freezer. And so I usually have a number of Kongs in the freezer so that it can pull it out and just give it to the puppy or the dog. And it takes them a really long time to lick that out. It's calming. Chewing is so good for dogs. It just helps them to relax, and it's good for them. Exercise. Do you want to talk about exercise and extreme exercise?
Yeah, some people like to ask the question, how far can we go for a walk, or can we, what can we do? Well, walks are great, and usually puppies, if you go for a walk, they'll let you know when they're tired, because they'll plop down. So just keep that in mind. Probably no long hikes at this point in time, but down the road certainly. No extreme exercise until they're about 16 months old, because their growth plates are still open. So no agility, no running regularly. You can play in the yard and the park or whatever, that kind of play's fine, but it's the continuous running that creates the problem, and the agility, the banging, and or using stairs a lot may create problem joint issues. So it's in our health contract, and we'll send that to you as well, so you can read through that and sign it. So yeah, and then once their growth plates are done, then you can go for a run all you want, marathon, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so shots, and also I was going to talk about a couple of products that are out there, Trifexis and NexGuard. We do not want you to use those for the puppies, and that is because the breeding community is finding that dogs are having seizures and even dying. And we heard about this at one of our Labradoodle conferences that we went to. And about 2 weeks after we got home from the conference, one of our host homes called us and said that Rufus had had a seizure. We'd had him for 4 years, never had anything like that. And we asked her, are you using Trifexis? And she said yes. And so that was it for us. From then on, we just said, and other breeders as well, were all saying, no Trifexis. The vet would say, well, it's just like any shot. You do take a risk when you use any kind of medication, but because it's multiple purpose medication, we feel that that's just too much for a dog to handle all at once. And for some reason, Trifexis and NexGuard, or any that are like that, are just dangerous. It's a chewable once a month medication. We say instead use something like Frontline or
just single purpose medications versus the external versus the oral, because the oral it acts differently in the body, and it's hard on the immune system. So back to Rufus, once she didn't give that to him anymore, he never had any problems after that. So we were sure that was the reason, even though vets will say, oh, there's no proof, there's no test been done. Well, we have enough information that we're comfortable with saying it's an issue, and we wouldn't want you to lose your puppy or have issues. So there's ways of getting around it. So why even test?
So use the external ones, the single purpose one. Revolution, is that a good one? And then Advantage?
I think it's Advantage, Frontline are the two that are most used. And then the other thing is when you do the vaccines, because you'll have the first vaccine taken care of before your puppy goes home. And so after that, you want to make sure that you do a vaccine at a time, not all these vaccines all at the same time, especially with the rabies shot. Do your rabies shot separately when that time comes. It's just better for the dog, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here, is you having a great puppy for the life of the dog, and not take those risks or chances, even though it may be a convenience.
Right. Okay, so I was just thinking of, so shots. So after they've had their second shot, rather than just the annual shot time, rather than just assuming, well, we'll just get the next shot, have the vet do a blood test and see if there are any titers, which are markers for immunity, because you may find that your dog is still immune to all of the things they have a shot for, and you may not need one that year. And same as they're growing up, as they're growing in the years to come, rather than just doing an annual shot, because that's what the vaccination companies recommend. Actually, when you do some research, it's not necessarily good for your dog. So
let me throw something in there. You had mentioned after the second one, I think that you need to go through the 16-week protocol, because those are boosters. And then once you get through those, and then you have to go for your next annual, have that blood draw for a titer test for that particular disease or whatever it is. That way you can see if they're immune to that, because if they're immune to it, why give them the shot?
Right.
And so it's just, again, better for the dog, easier on the dog.
Okay, training and grooming. A training class is so good for the dog and the family. You can sign up. Usually they'll let you come into the class as long as you have 2 shots, and we always ask, do you require vaccinations? And if the trainer says no, we don't, then don't go there.
And there are obvious, again, extenuating circumstances right now. There may not be any training classes but there are some individual trainers that might be willing to work with you, and we have or will be giving that information to you as 2 trainers that we know that we'll recommend.
Well, hopefully this thing won't be going on that long, so they could be able to
Well,
do
they're
it.
taking the puppies home,
Yeah,
very soon, so
another month. Maybe it won't
we
be
don't
done.
know. So anyway,
Okay,
keep
well,
that
those
in
are all,
mind.
that's another idea. That's a good idea. So training and grooming, microchip, and Trupanion. So you want to talk about the
Yeah,
microchip?
so the microchip, we'll give you a microchip that's in a syringe. It's called a mini microchip, and it has a number and such. And so when you go in for either your 9-week shot or your 12-week shot, some vets like to wait a little longer, have them insert that, and we know what microchips are for, so identification. So we'll have record of it, and then you'll have record of it, and we'll give you a registration card that we'll give you so you can register your puppy and dog with your information. So if something comes up, they find the dog, the vet checks, oh, and here's the tag on your dog, we'll call this number so-and-so, and they get the address or phone number, contact information, so they can contact your dog. Hopefully your dog will never get away and won't be an issue, but that's what the microchip's for. So we'll give that to you. And then Trupanion is a pet insurance. There's a few of them out there that are okay. Trupanion we like because it becomes effective immediately.
The insurance.
The insurance does. Some of them you have to wait a period of time, but the costs are all about the same. Just we found that Trupanion just is a little bit better. And plus, if you sign up within 24 hours
of picking up the
of
puppy.
picking up your puppy, then they'll give you 30 days free. And they're working with us on that. So there's a little code on the back of the card. You just let them know what that is, and so that way you can get your first month free.
So it's kind of like term life insurance. Wouldn't you say it's kind of like that? Because you get the amount that you pay is up to you, because they give you, depending on how much how you want to do the insurance, but you only pay like for puppy at the puppy level.
Yeah, so if you, just like term life insurance, if you apply for insurance when you're older, the premium's higher. So if you purchase now, they'll charge you that rate for the rest of the life of the dog. There may be some incremental increases, but the premium won't increase because of their age. So if you want to do it, get started now, because it's cheaper to do it now.
So other security things. So he talked about the microchip. Please be sure to register your dog. It's so easy. Just call them up. Yep, you're covered. So that's really great. Then the other thing is the tag that you get a tag right away. Even before you get the puppy, and put on the tag something to the effect of your phone number, reward,
The dog's name.
if you want to put the dog's name on there. So dog's name, your phone number, reward, and then if you want to, write medical. And we just think that is a shrewd thing to do, because if you live in an area where someone could reach over your picket fence, because you're in an area where there's a sidewalk and lots of people around, so someone could just take the dog, or the dog gets away from you and they decide they want to rescue the dog, they see reward and they might think, well, Labradoodle's expensive, I think I'm just going to keep the dog. But then they see medical and they think, oh, well, that means, and there's a microchip. That means if I go to the vet to find out, well, maybe this dog needs some kind of shots every day, like because it's diabetic or something, and then they'll see the microchip number, and I'll be the bad guy. I'll take the reward, and then there you go, get your dog back.
So it's just something that, the
Was it
people
a
at the
conference?
conference recommended, but it's up to you guys.
I thought it was a great idea, just because.
It doesn't make us look very good, because medical, where'd you get this dog? Oh, Trails End Labradoodle. Well, I'm not getting a dog from them. So anyway.
I'm the safety monitor, so that's what I think. So first night, you get your puppy home. I got to show you the harness that we're going to give you. This will be in your bag, and it comes like this. And I just open it up by pulling the two ends apart, and the little plastic breaks, and you take it off, and you just try it around the dog's chest first to see if it will fit just the way it is, and click if it needs to be. Well, it's obvious how you can make it bigger.
So the front two legs, you just put it down, you put the front two legs, because you can't see that. Front two legs through the holes, and then this comes up over the back and clicks in.
Yeah.
And then there's two little things here you click the leash onto. And you can adjust it, so.
Yeah. We like to start with a harness because oftentimes puppies are getting into things like your rhododendron as you're walking and stuff, and you need to pull them out, and that's just easier on them than pulling them by the neck until they're well trained.
Yeah, until they're well trained. Harness is good for training. I wouldn't leave it on all the time.
Right. Where was I?
But we'll give you a collar.
Collar, leash.
Collar, leash, the harness.
Brush, treats, just a few treats to get you started. You'll want to get some better ones because they've been having these for a while, and the harder the trick, the harder the thing that you're teaching them, the better the treat should be. Because they are very food motivated. They're watching for that food. They smell it. That's their first thing is the odor of it.
Yeah, and then the blankets. We'll have a little blanket for you as well. And then
information and vitamins. Oh yeah.
Talk about the vitamins.
So So we recommend this vitamin, New Vet Plus, and we are leaving a sample in there. The puppies have been getting it since 6 weeks in their food, and it is it's kind of for the immunity gap between our house and your house, and during this time when they're getting worms being wormed and having shots and doing all those type of things. It's a stressful time because they're moving from mom to just the playmates now to a new home. So and we actually give it to all of our dogs, all the way up to the old ones, to the old ladies, and it's a human food grade vitamin. It's very good. So, and it tastes good.
And we'll give you that information. There's a little pamphlet that has a little code on it, and you call them and give them that code.
Isn't it on the grocery list?
When you place the order, yeah, it's probably on that grocery list
that
too.
way, if you want it, you can order it and have it for them, so you don't have to stop and then start again. You can just continue what we've been doing.
So if you're going to order it, say when you get the puppy, the product will be to you within 3 days, I think is what they say.
Mm-hmm. So first night, we suggest you put the crate in your bedroom, just because we've tried being strict and putting the puppy in a separate room and saying, okay, this is your room, and close them in, good night. And then they cry because they miss their playmates. The smells are different. It's a different house. We just find it's so much easier for us if the puppy is in our room. So we do have them in the crate. We would suggest you put it right by your bed, and so in the middle of the night when the puppy wakes up, if he or she wakes up, they will either have to go potty or they'll just wonder where they are, and you can start just by putting your hand in there and reassuring them so they can lick your fingers, and then they usually will just fall asleep. But if they really have to go potty, they will keep fussing, and that's when you just need to know you'll need to take them out. So
pick them up, take them out.
Yep, that's the way we like to start for the first night.
And we're finding that it just takes
short time,
maybe a day. Mm-hmm. We've had some that just sleep through the night right away. Mm-hmm. And they will be introduced to a crate. They've had a crate in their area all mm-hmm. along, but specifically they'll be shut in a crate for a period of time, so at least they have some introduction to a crate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we open up the crates and we run them outside and we say, let's go potty, 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 potty. And we both have treats. And then whoever is going potty, we run over and give them a treat. We do the click and treat, run over and give them a click and treat. And of course, it takes a lot, repeated, and that's where you guys come in, but they will have heard it for a couple of nights. So.
And there's some things that are important, and we may have touched on this at the puppy party, and that is that being consistent in your training, so everybody on the same page, doing the same mm-hmm. verbiage or whatever, signals for the puppy. So being consistent, for the kids, being calm. If you're running around, you can expect the dog to chase you. If mm-hmm. you're calm, then you mm-hmm. can expect the dog to be calmer. Excuse me. And the other thing is confidence. dogs know when you're confident, when you're in charge. But if you don't, if you let them do what they want, these dogs are very smart and they will take advantage of you and create habits that you won't want.
Yeah, like if one person in the house decides it's okay for the puppy to be up on the couch, that puppy's going to be up on the couch.
Yeah.
So you have to all be on the same page, just like you said.
Yeah.
There was something else that you reminded me of. Kids should sit while they're holding the puppy rather than, young kids, not walking around with a puppy in their arms. Puppies tend to throw themselves forward, so we always suggest that the puppy's back legs go onto the floor first when you're putting them down. So a lot of times people are trying to do it this way, and then the puppy pushes off, and then they land wrong, and we just want to protect their little joints. So just under supervision, good socialization with kids, not left alone with the puppy, because this is really important for them to have all positive experiences so they don't develop any fears. They do have times when they're more sensitive emotionally, just like people. So we just want to make sure that those socialization times with kids, or especially friends of kids that come over, that they understand how to handle the puppy. If the puppy is excited because the kids are home from school and is just being too wild and stuff, the good idea is to tell your children, be like a tree. So that means stand still and tell mom or dad, puppy needs to go in the crate, nap time. And that's usually what does happen, is when it gets close to nap time, the puppy will start to demonstrate sleepy kind of behavior like a toddler would, where they can't seem to pay attention, they're just kind of wild, or maybe they're too mouthy. It means I'm ready to go to bed, they need to go to sleep. So you put them in their crate and close the door, throw a treat in, and then when you get them up, take them out of the crate, throw a treat in and close the door. So they'll see the treat going in, they'll say, hey, but that's just for later, so that that place becomes a happy place that they'll want to go in there.
And also for kids, and if they're on the floor with the kids and the dog's jumping up on them, they just need to stand up.
Yeah.
Get higher than the puppy. Dog. And the other thing too is if you put your hands up like this, the dog's going to jump and bite at your hand. So it's better to keep them close to you. That way they don't think, oh, you're dangling your fingers out there for me to, or when you're trying to pet them, you're going like this, trying to pet them. Just get right in there and just grab them, and
like by the
you
shoulders.
can control them, you know. So you just have to be confident, and that may take a little bit of time, but mom and dad can help with that.
Yeah, what kind of petting is just like calm, like massaging kind of thing is different than this kinds of thing, and you'll get a different reaction depending on what your goal is for that. So. Yeah, tug of war, be gentle with their necks, keep it down at the same level. We prefer to have the dog understand to leave it before we start tug of war, but that's up to you. We just have to be careful of their necks. Let the dog pull, don't you pull, because it's hard on their necks when they're little. Yeah,
and their teeth start coming in, their adult teeth.
By 6 months, they're usually coming in pretty well. So
and so the other thing. I was just going to say.
The vet? Go to the vet check?
Yeah, I don't know if, because of this virus stuff, we did not take the litter to the vet. We just didn't feel like it was wise to do that. We were confident that they're in good health, of course. So probably at your 9-week point, which will be, in a week or so, you'll need to go in and get that second shot anyway. So just be mindful of that and have them maybe give a look over the puppy at that time. So when you go in. Anyway, so hope this was formative for you. We're thankful that you chose us for getting a puppy.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you have any questions along the way, email works great. We can answer any emails any questions that you might have. We usually get back to you pretty quickly. So
yeah. Also, so the day of, when you guys come, which is in a couple of days, we're just going to have everybody come and you'll just park and stay in your car, and we'll come out with your puppies. We'll yell out your name and the puppy's name, so you can just wave at us to let us know, and we'll hand you the puppy and a whole bag full of stuff along with food there for a couple of days, the From Puppy food. and all the things we talked about beforehand. And if you want to once you get your puppy and you put the harness on and leash on, then it'd be a good idea to go ahead and take them out in our yard, going down toward just a little way,
just on the other side of the road,
on the other side of the driveway,
yeah,
toward the river. Yeah,
Definitely
just to
go
go out and
potty.
go potty. You've got treats in there. You can start saying potty, 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 and
if you want.
if you want to. It's probably going to be pretty distracting when you first get here,
Yeah.
just because there'll be others as well. So that's it, and you'll just take your puppy home and let us know how it goes. We would love, love, love to see pictures.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much, guys.